Hi everybody. We're just gonna wait 2 minutes for everyone to come on. I just want to say that it's so good to be here. I'm so glad that, thank you for joining. Thank you so much for joining. I'm so looking forward to getting started and tackling this topic. I feel like this is a really hot topic. I feel like this is like the one issue that people don't address, but we're going to address it today. We're going to really get right into it and figure out how we can overcome these feelings, these really troubled feelings. All right, so we're just going to give it another minute, then I'm going to introduce myself officially. Hi, welcome. Okay, so my name is Rachel Shasho, and I am a psychotherapist in private practice, and I help people with attachment trauma, anxiety, depression, and mainly work with young adults. So this topic really does come up for a lot of people, especially people who are starting college or even people who are single. It really comes up that they feel very lonely, isolated. They're starting life and okay. Can you hear me now? Should be okay. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. If anyone can't hear me, just let me know. I work with young adults and adults. Okay, so we were in the middle of talking about how many times people feel alone because they're starting out life, entering into a new community, and it really takes that extra effort to put into life to make sure. Okay, great. Great, glad everyone can hear me. That extra effort to put into life that we need to seek out connection, and it becomes like another to-do list thing that we have to do in order to make life meaningful and pleasurable and enjoyable and just a really wholesome way of living. So a lot of things that people come to me explaining to is like that they have an emotional experience and they're going to their friends and they're talking to their friends and they try to explain to them what they're going through, and they just are met with all of this like avoidance and disconnect. Like, what happened? I was sad. Why didn't they understand me? Why didn't they listen to me? Like, I feel even more alone. Like, I reached out for help and I still feel so much more alone. Like, how is it possible that I'm reaching out for help and I'm met with so much disconnect and so much misunderstanding? And now I feel rejected. Now I really feel like nobody gets me and I'm even alone in my loneliness. And that's a really hard place to be. And there's so many things in life that can make us feel lonely, with like feeling left out, going through a breakup, feeling that sense of longing, not being heard, not being seen. And there's so many reasons why we could be feeling alone. So it's important to get clear on what it is that's making you feel lonely. And that is going to really help us kind of get to the root of what is really going on. So just so you know, it's so normal to feel lonely. So many times we can't even admit that we're feeling lonely because we don't even know. Sometimes we block it out. We have our phones. We keep scrolling and trying to find connection that way, but it doesn't really fix anything inside of us. And then we just wind up feeling more and more alone, and that need doesn't get met. And so like, if you're feeling that way, it's so normal, and it's so okay. It's more than okay to feel that way. You're human. We all need connection. We all need people. We're wired for connection, and we're wired to want to be around people, to be there for others, and for others to be there for us. So if you're feeling that emptiness, if you're feeling that void, that is a signal that something is disconnected, that you're wanting so much more from life, and that you deserve to have it. And that is so important, to just feel that something is wrong. So we can have this experience, number one, just because of our environment. That could be a huge thing. Like, sometimes it's not always an internal issue, sometimes it is. So to just get clear of where it's coming from, we're going to go through all of the reasons of where it can be coming from and how we could fill in those gaps. So there could be like friendships, lack of real connecting friendships. You know, sometimes we'll have friends that end up being really toxic, and we thought it was a really great connection, and then it just really got so messy and confusing, and now you're attached, now you're not, and you have to find new friends. So friendships are huge. Even in a marriage, it can be really disconnecting. Are you not feeling connected to your partner? That can also be very, very disconnecting. So a lot of times there's also this like triangulation where we're not really connecting to each other, we're connecting about something. Did someone ask you, like, how do you feel today? What's going on? Like, I know what I'm feeling, but do you care to know what I'm feeling? And sometimes we have that fear of intimacy or that people-pleasing behavior, that facade where we're afraid to show our true selves, and we're afraid of how people are going to treat us if we do show our true selves, because it's so vulnerable. To be vulnerable is really, really risky. It's risking that rejection, and so we just hide in a little shell, in a little lonely place, because it's safer. And sometimes it feels better to be lonely and be alone than to be rejected. And so there's overcoming that fear. So being lonely is really hard. It's really, really sad place to be, and we feel this cold feeling physically. We could feel in pain, and like there's a 32% chance of dying early because we're feeling alone. And that's really sad, because we need love, we need to attach, we need to bond, and we need to really feel that we belong, and that we matter, and that we're important, and that we're seen. Those are needs. It's not just a want. Like, just like you need to go to the grocery store and get food, we also need that attunement, that really good attunement that makes us feel wanted, that makes us feel seen, that makes us feel heard and loved and cared for. So we're going to go through some practical tips to help us through. So number one, I would say, is therapy. Finding a therapist that you really connect with and really gets you. Like, there's nothing like that really good therapeutic connection that makes you feel understood. Why does it feel so good? Because we're being seen, we're being heard, they're validating us, they have empathy for our feelings. Someone is really almost experiencing our feelings with us. So much of loneliness is because no one's feeling sad with us. When you sit with your therapist, I hope that they're experiencing what you're experiencing, and it's like you're almost in this trance-like state of like they really know what's going on. You're being known and you're being heard, and it's so healing to have that experience. It could be, for some people, the first time that they're being heard, because there is this lack of empathy in the world, whereas like there's these arguments of like, no, you're not really feeling that, or that like that fight of like, well, and it goes back to the other person, and then no one really knows really what happened to you, because there was just this whole chit chat thing, and then you really wanted to be seen, but you didn't. And so when you go to therapy, they're really sitting with you, and they're getting down to business to really what's going on. So another thing is journaling. When you know what your thoughts are, it brings up this feeling of being known. When we don't know, it creates so much, like, we're closed off, we get all clammed up, and we don't really know what's going on inside of our minds, and that creates that feeling of like disconnect from the self. So that's some internal work that you can do. Sometimes loneliness can also be just that you're feeling bored. So trying new hobbies, trying self-care, doing something that you really love can really help you override those feelings. And to do self-compassion, meditation, noticing how we're part of a world and that there's people to connect to and that we're all connected in some way and that we cannot really survive alone. It's not really possible. We do need each other. Nobody can be everything to themselves. Like, we do need people, and to understand that it's normal and it's okay to reach out for help. Another thing is to reach out to a friend. Sometimes we forget people, like, hey, remember that childhood friend that I used to hang out with? Like, they were nice. I could reach out to them and see how they're doing. We forget that we get so caught up in that lonely place that I'm alone and I'm the only one there and I'm the only one experiencing it, that we forget that there's actually people who have cared about us. Maybe we just forgot, or maybe our loneliness made us feel that we don't deserve to have friends, or we don't deserve to be around people. And it's that reminder that we really do deserve to have people and that it's important to connect. Another way is to have a friend that you prepare before, that they could be like your loneliness buddy, and you can reach out to them and say, hey, I'm feeling really lonely right now. I think it's really hard to do that because there's like this stigma of loneliness of like, oh, you're alone in life and you have no friends and now you're just an outcast, but it's like everyone feels lonely at some point. I'm sure the friend that you're reaching out to has also felt lonely at one point, and by you being vulnerable and saying like, hey, I'm feeling really lonely right now, can you keep me company, even if it's just for 5 minutes, that they know that they can do the same with you, and you can have that loneliness bond connection of like, I'm in a hard place right now, I need some support, and that's always okay to reach out when you're feeling alone. So those are some ideas. Another way is also sometimes we have a hard time connecting with friends because life gets so busy and we're working and we don't know how to make this work-life balance and family. And sometimes what we do is we say, hey, I'm going bowling. You want to come with me? And we're like, oh no, I have a meeting for work. Or like, hey, I'm going to the movies. Like, want to come with me? Like, oh no. And it's always like we never end up finding a time to meet because you're always busy. So what's helpful to do is to be like, hey, I really want to hang out with you. Let's make a time that works for both of us. Instead of going through that flip-flop, like I've even had friends where like it took forever because we were in this trap of like, hey, I'm free, I want to do this. Hey, I'm free. When it's like, we need to just set a time to meet. And that creates more of that resistance to like, oh, no one really wants to hang out with me. Oh, I guess like no one's gonna make time for me, when like it's not really so much that people are forgetting about you. It's just that there's just so much going on in so many people's lives that you really have to make sure to make it a priority in your life. So we're gonna get in touch with more of the deeper issues with loneliness. So those are more like external issues of like practical things that you can do, like trying a new hobby, joining a gym, doing things in your environment that could help you alleviate those feelings. So now we're going to get into the internal process of loneliness and get a little bit deeper on where it could really come from. So this involves with getting in touch with your body, getting in touch with your emotions, getting in touch with your limiting beliefs. Did your parents punish you and put you in your room and say, go figure it out for yourself? And now as a child, which children can't really handle their emotions by themselves, it's really hard. I mean, even as an adult to handle our emotions, we need people to help us, to comfort us, to soothe us, to help us problem solve. And to put a child in a room and say, figure it out for yourself, it's really, really lonely experience. And now you can walk around with that living belief that I have to figure everything out myself and nobody could help me. And then what you'll experience around you is that nobody comes to help you because of that limiting belief that you're feeling inside. And then it just perpetuates that loneliness because of that one experience that you've had in childhood. Or it could be a reoccurring experience, which could create that really chronic loneliness from childhood. So it's really getting in touch with that inner child and learning how to soothe yourself from your adult self. The adult self is a fully functioning person, the you that goes to work, the you that drives, the you that can do really adult things that children can't do. And then there's a part inside that is underdeveloped or feeling more lonely, isolated, and maybe no one has really cared for them and showed up or has cared for their emotions, noticed when they were sad, noticed what their needs were. So you're going to be that person for that inner child and say, I'm here for you, I care about you, I don't want you to feel alone, I want you to feel supported, I want you to feel loved, I'm here now to give you what you are needing. And the more we practice that, the more that we do that, we notice where 80% of this loneliness is coming from. Could be from childhood and could be because of that isolated, lonely part of the subconscious mind that didn't really get developed. And we can go back and soothe that part of ourselves so that there's not this aching feeling of like, I need someone, that longing feeling for someone to fill a void. A lot of times is the inner child needing a caregiver, parent, which is going to be you, the adult self, to fill up that void. And it's really a lot of dialogue. It's a lot of that talking back and forth with your inner child so that you can really get to know yourself. And getting to know yourself from the beginning, so from when you're a child up until who you are today. Because when there's a lack of knowing, it's really, really hard to connect to others if we don't know ourselves. So go on a date with yourself. Try to get to know yourself. And the more you do that, the more you'll understand who you are, and the more you'll find people who resonate with you. And you'll also be able to be in solitude. Being in solitude is not a lonely feeling. Being in solitude is being able to be okay with yourself. And it's a place of heightened self-awareness. If you're able to be okay with yourself, you have this sense of I exist and it's okay, that it's just me, and I can love myself for who I am. And I know that being in this moment with myself doesn't mean that I can't take myself with other people. I could also have this experience with other people. And it's not the only time that you're alone. So that's something also, is being okay with yourself. And another thing is to envision what it is that you truly want. So let's say you really want to improve your relationships, or you really want to find someone, find a friend, find a soulmate, is to allow yourself to dream a little bit. When we're in a lonely place, we kind of lock ourselves in this cage where I'm going to be alone forever. And this feeling is never going to go away. And I'm always going to feel like this. And it could really feel like that. We could really feel so stuck in that feeling. And we don't even allow ourselves to take a step out of that feeling and say, okay, I have this feeling, I have this void, I have this emptiness. How am I going to fill it up? What do I want? What do I really need? How do I want someone to show up for me? Maybe people haven't shown up for me before, but it's possible that I could find that in the future. And it is possible. And the more you open up to that possibility, the more you'll begin to feel hopeful about getting through this loneliness experience. So what that looks like could be thinking about exactly what you want. Get clear. I really, really want to be in a relationship. What does that look like? What does it feel like? Embody those feelings. Really, really feel it in every cell of your body as if it's happening today. And try to pull yourself out of that feeling with the validation of like, yes, of course you're feeling alone. Of course you're feeling alone. It's so hard to be in that place. It's so hard. But it's possible that there's hope for the future, that you can build the relationships that you want, and you can learn to feel okay with yourself, whatever that looks like, whether it's sitting under the sun and just being at peace, being at ease, feeling love in your heart for yourself, or figuring out something about yourself that you didn't know, or finding a gift that's inside of you that you didn't know, finding a talent, finding a strength. developing yourself, discovering more of who you are. Because after all, relationships are meant to cultivate that. There's something so amazing about a relationship, that it's so bonding, it's so loving, and it's so incredible. And from that place is where we build. A toxic relationship is going to destroy, but a really good, healthy relationship is so vitalizing and so amazing to be in, because it's something that helps us to grow higher and higher and higher and higher. We can climb that ladder together with someone, or together as a group. And even going through a struggle as a group is so much more powerful than going through it alone, because you have people supporting you and pushing each other and building each other up. So I think we covered a lot today, and I hope that there were some points that you could take along with you on your journey. And the last thing that I want to say is that if you're in a place of loneliness, please reach out for help, or try some of the things that we've talked about today. I promise you that it does get better, and you're definitely not alone, and you belong here, and you're important, and you matter, and your existence matters. And if nobody told you today, I'm telling you today that I'm here for you, and I'm so glad that you joined today, and I'm looking forward to doing more talks on here very soon. So take care and have a great night.